1970, a dry two-lane outside Cisco, Utah. A white Dodge Challenger points itself at two bulldozers parked nose to nose across the road and never lifts. That is how Vanishing Point ends. The car wins by refusing to stop. But the movie never told you this. The Challenger that hit those blades was not a Challenger at all. It was the gutted shell of a 1967 Camaro, packed with explosives, towed into the dozers on a cable. The real cars were already gone. Chrysler handed the production 5 1970 Challenger RTs. 4 of them ran the 440 Magnum, a 4-barrel, a pistol-grip 4-speed, and a 410 Sure Grip out back. Alpine white, chosen for one reason. It read clean against the desert. By the time the cameras stopped, 4 of the 5 were wrecked. And Chrysler made a decision. Rather than repair them, rather than park them at auto shows as the hero car from a cult classic, they crushed them. A damaged car is a lawsuit waiting to happen. So the 440 legends went to the crusher, and one lonely survivor still turned a wheel. That is the pattern you are about to watch play out 6 times. The car the world fell for, and the people who built it deciding it was safer dead. 1974, Long Beach, California. A yellow Mustang jumps a wrecked car, clears more than 100 feet of pavement, and lands hard enough to compress the spine of the man behind the wheel. That man was H.B. Halicki. He wrote Gone in 60 Seconds, directed it, produced it, starred in it, and owned the junkyard most of the cars came from. His star was Eleanor, and Eleanor was a beautiful lie. She was sold on screen as a 1973 Mach 1. She was nothing of the sort. Halicki took a 1971 Mustang sports roof, bolted on a 73 grill, blacked out the flanks, and ran a 351 Windsor. He built 2, a clean beauty car for the close-ups, and a stunt car caged like a short-track racer for the punishment. 127 vehicles died making that film. Eleanor should have been one of them. But when it wrapped, the clean beauty car, the one that never took a real hit, got crushed. The battered stunt car, the one that survived that 100-foot jump, is the one still alive today. Hold on to that. The pretty one dies. The scarred one walks away. 1977, a back-road bridge in Georgia. A black and gold Trans Am slides sideways across the span, while Jerry Reed hauls Coors east into Kenworth. Smokey and the Bandit was the second biggest film of the year. Only Star Wars beat it. And the car doing the work was not what Pontiac told you either. The 77 models were not built yet when cameras rolled, so Pontiac grabbed 4 1976 Trans Ams and bolted 77 noses and decals onto them. 3 for the stunt crew, 1 promo car. Under the shaker sat a 6.6 V8, making about 200 horsepower, because by 1977, the EPA had already choked the muscle era down to stripes and noise. By the last day, all 3 stunt cars were beaten to death. The final one would not even start, so the crew pushed it into frame by hand to steal the last shot. Then the studio crushed them. Every one, for liability. And the cruelest detail of all, the engine you hear snarling through that entire movie is not a Pontiac. It is a 1955 Chevy with a big block, dubbed in later, because the real Trans Am did not sound mean enough. The one that lived was the promo car. It sold in 2016 for $550,000. 1968. The hills of San Francisco. A Highland Green Mustang launches off a rise with a black Charger welded to its bumper. Warner Brothers ordered 2 1968 Mustang GT Fastbacks, 390 big blocks for Steve McQueen. 1 hero car for the close work, 1 stunt car, VIN ending 558 for the abuse. When the shoot wrapped, that stunt car was written off as junk and sold to a scrapyard. Somebody shipped it to Mexico, and there it sat in a lot in Baja, painted white over its Highland green, drivetrain long gone, rotting in the sun for close to 40 years. McQueen spent his final years hunting for it. He died in 1980, never knowing where it was. Then, in 2017, a body shop owner bought it to cut into an Eleanor clone. His partner ran the VIN before the saw came out. That one search saved it. Kevin Marty confirmed every stamp, Highland green under the white, the camera mount holes drilled for filming, all of it matching. The hero car had a quieter ending. A family hid it for decades, then rolled it across the Meekum block in Kissimmee in January of 2020. It sold for $3.74 million, the most anyone had ever paid for a Mustang. 1983, a Los Angeles backlot. A red and white Plymouth crushes itself flat, then rebuilds itself on camera, panel by panel. John Carpenter needed a fleet to pull that off. He bought roughly 24 1957 and 58 Plymouths. And here is the trick. The real 1958 Fury was rare, barely 5,000 built, and it only ever left the factory in beige. So most of the cars playing that blood-red Fury were cheaper Belvederes and Savoys, wearing Fury trim and a fresh coat of paint. 17 were built into Christines. Most were deliberately destroyed for the camera, because you cannot fake a car tearing itself apart. When it ended, the survivors scattered. One was sold off as scrap metal to a junkyard before anyone realized what it was and dragged it back out. It sits in the Peterson Museum now. And the one genuine Fury? It crossed that same Meekum auction in January of 2020, 6 lots away from the Bullitt Mustang. Nobody ever mentions that the two most famous cars in film history sat in the same room on the same night, waiting on the same gavel. 1974, Northern California Walnut Country. A lime yellow Charger drags a police helicopter through 60 exits of an orchard. Dirty Mary Crazy Larry handed Peter Fonda a 1969 Charger RT with a 440 Magnum. 3 Chargers total. The genuine RT for the close-ups, a 69 coupe, and a 68 for the stunt work. Citron yellow, a green so strange the film labs kept correcting it back to banana yellow because they were sure it was a mistake. The finale crashes a Charger into a moving train. They tried the 68 first, the explosives failed, so the next day they wrecked the 69 coupe instead, and that one detonated on cue. The 2 survivors were patched up and sold off in 1974 for a couple $1,000s apiece. One of them never went anywhere. It has been parked in a backyard in Sun Valley, California ever since. Same citron yellow paint, same black stripe, a primered fender where they fixed the chase damage. The owner knows exactly what he has. It is not for sale. 6 films, 6 legends, the same quiet ending on every one. The cars the studios loved, the clean hero cars, the ones worth the most, are the ones they crushed. Too pretty the risk, too much of a liability to let live. What survived was the junk, the beaten stunt cars, the wrong year fakes, the ones dumped in a Baja scrapyard or left to green over in a backyard. These legends did not survive because someone protected them. They survived because nobody thought they were worth destroying.